As you heard Lane mention earlier, this is a pretty new product for us. It's geared towards folks who need power but still on the field. One interesting part is that they can actually upgrade it pretty easily, which is something that we like as well. Lane covered pretty much most of the bits and bytes. I'll just cover them a little bit more again. So as you mentioned, right, this is using Intel's new Alder Lake CPU, right, which gives you the capability to score up to 14 cores if you want to. Memory wise, it's DDR5, all right, up to 48 gigs, which is fairly powerful. Excuse me. Powerful enough to run most apps which require a lot of rendering. Storage wise, we've got PCIe 4 Gen 4 slots, up to 2 DSP, and 1610 displays. So 1610 gives you a lot more vision, a lot more view as compared to 16:9. For folks who are using regular apps like Excel or PowerPoint, it won't make a difference. But if you're running rendering apps, if you're doing manufacturing, if you're doing 3D design, that little much of a difference does play a big part in when you're designing big documents, etc. We've also got 1080 cam, as is mentioned, T550 4 gig graphics card. In terms of other aspects which are more towards the soft side, I'd say that the connectivity is pretty good, 4 gig. Sounds, we've got Dolby Atmos as well. Certification wise, something very important for workstations, besides having Windows and Linux support as well. A couple of the apps which are certified for this, you've got the usual, you've got the famous ones like Autodesk, SolidWorks. You've also got ANSYS, right? ANSYS is a very high-end app which is used to do a lot of rendering. If you think of Formula One, all right, before they put the car out in the field, when they want to do the wind tunnel analysis, they use ANSYS for that, right? There's a lot of construction happening in Manila. When I was there recently, Makati, there's a lot of buildings happening. Whenever they want to do wind analysis simulation for storms, for typhoons, ANSYS is what they use, and it's a ground leader in this, and it's one of the partners we're working with. Also, ArcGIS. ArcGIS is a GIS tool that's used for mapping. You've got AutoCAD, as mentioned earlier, SolidWorks, and also design apps like NX, right, Revit, and even Solid Edge. So the certifications which come with this product are I'd say pretty vast. They cover everything for folks in the media and animation space, guys in architecture, guys who are doing manufacturing, all right, and even guys in mapping and analysis. So although this is, I would say, more of a entry level, slightly entry compared to P16 mainstream, but it's still a pretty powerful machine of what we have out there. All right, next screen, please. So touching a little bit more, in a bit more detail, as mentioned earlier, right? When as an option for the CPU, you also get Intel's latest Iris graphics option as well, right? So you have an option of having Intel Iris as well as NVIDIA, depending on what your scale of work is, right? You've also got full DC dimming panels, which moves from FHD to UHD. So folks like me who use the screen a lot, it does help with the eyes and all that. HPD as well, human presence detection. So for many folks out there, if we've had cases in the past where someone walks away from their PC and leaves the system unlocked, right? People can access your private data, your emails. So that is an issue with security and data breaches. So HPD actually senses when a person is away from the P16s and automatically locks your machine. So it's also a I'll say privacy and security feature as well, which is added on to this. In terms of sound, if you like listening to music, or if you're doing work, if you're doing editing on Adobe, if you're doing editing on movies, or even using camera home photography that you want to edit, you can actually leverage the sound of it through the Dolby Vision HDR, which is available. And connectivity wise, as mentioned earlier, you've got Thunderbolt 4 and you've got Wi-Fi 6E as well in these products. All right. So that's a brief update on the product side of it in terms of the bits and bytes. So I'll move on a little bit to the market and who this product is targeting. So the key markets for this would be, as mentioned earlier, architecture, engineering, construction, AEC as we call it, or graphics design and media production. So small media houses, big media houses. We've got customers like Disney who are using similar machines, all right? Some of the many, in fact, of our customers are from the M&E space. So if a lot of shows out there, a lot of the editing, the VFX are done on these machines. Traditionally, it used to be done on the bigger P5s and P7s, the desktops. But with the way the capabilities of the mobiles are scaling up, a lot of them are moving to P series mobile as well. Second would be architecture. All right, a lot of designers now need to go and see customers when they just show their products. If you're working in an architectural firm, besides having the client come to your office, which was a problem during COVID, many of the consultants go and see their customers. So by being able to carry their product, being able to carry their render files and edit them on the fly, it is an added benefit as well for these two industries. All right. So key focus industries would be architecture, engineering, and media and production. All right. These are the main ones, but these aren't the only ones. If you look at the bigger scope of it, you've also got oil and gas, which is a big vertical we look at as well. You've got healthcare, education as well. Education isn't mentioned here, but many customers in education use these machines for their students when they want to learn designing or render work, right? So besides media animation, architecture, we've also got oil and gas and healthcare as some of the key verticals where these products are catered to in currently, right? So user scenarios. So depending on what your user wants, right here, a couple of SKUs you could refer to just for reference. Then they aren't locked in stone. It just gives you a feel of how would someone in the school use it using AutoCAD or Revit, all right, or how someone would use it for administrative work. If you're a heavy Excel user and you need a lot of Excel files open at the same time, this would also be beneficial to folks like those, all right. And last but not least, if you look at the services portion, right, of what we offer. So we don't just offer products; we also offer a suite of services for you for our customers to look at. The first thing being support. Support is fairly important when you're using mission critical applications, which usually run on the ThinkPad P series products. So if you're running an app, for example, if you're in the police force and you're using the P16 or another P series to do surveillance, for example, which is fairly commonly used, and there's an issue with it, right? You need support quickly, and premier support is one area where many of customers have had support issues resolved very quickly. Second of all, if you're using specific hardware or if you're using apps which are generally longer life cycle, you can upgrade to 5 years warranty as well if you want to keep it for a bit longer for the sake of keeping your solutions constant. And we do have customers such as these in specific industries, right? More traditional industries like healthcare or even defense, right? They want to use this very standardized product for a longer period of time. And we do give you the option as well. And also keeping your hard drive because of data security, asset tagging, all right? And these are some of the customized options that we offer of our customers. These are just a couple of them. It isn't the whole suite. I'm sure that our Lenovo services rep will be able to cover that part of you, but we do offer a whole range of services for your organization out there. All right. So that's pretty much a pretty brief walkthrough on the P16s. Generally, it's catered towards users who need power but still mobile, lower entry point, folks who are using pretty high-end apps, like I mentioned earlier, like ANSYS, Revit, SolidWorks. Unique shape, right? If you look at it next to a screen, it's a very compact form factor. Weight-wise, it's also pretty light. But at the same time, it does give you a lot of benefits in terms of performance, right? You got the 12th generation Intel Alder Lake CPUs, right? Which are the latest and greatest in the market today. You get up to 128 gigs of memory. All right. You get 3 storage options. All right. You can connect up to 8 monitors. All right. And you have the option of using an RTX A5000 graphics card, 16 GB of memory, which is fairly powerful. Usually, when you look at specs like these, right, you would probably most often envision a larger box, right? But this particular box is fairly small. In fact, if for many power users who require power, they don't want to access their cloud because of data security, but they want similar power they can carry around either intercity or when they're traveling overseas. this is a pretty good option for them. Now, during the launch we had in the US, right, a couple of months ago, it's very interesting to see that many of the folks who came actually brought this along. We actually gave folks this box to just use as they moved around, and they found it a lot uh, um, uh, very useful for users which needed high-end apps. So if you're running work for, I'm just going to give a couple of customer names here, right? Not necessarily linked to us, but if you're doing work, for example, for a big oil and gas company, all right, Schlumberger, or if you're doing work for high-end VFX like Disney or Pixar or Lucasfilms, right? You need really high-end graphics cards. You need a full-on packed machine. And this gives some of the folks out there, even the smaller media houses, the option to actually go and move their work around with them. All right, all they need is to plug it into a monitor. All right, when they have access to it, and they get the performance of a full on desktop. So the benefit of this is for folks who need more power, who are using extremely high end solutions, high end applications, who need their data to be secure, and who need to move their work to either for the sake of showing customers or for the sake of presenting to clients. This would be a very good option. It's a very unique box. It's small, but it packs a very powerful punch. Right. Next screen, please. Yeah. So just to touch a bit on the specs of it, right? So in terms of OS support, it supports Red Hat, Ubuntu, and Windows. All right. 12 core Intel core CPUs. All right. The latest and greatest in the market today. Memory wise, up to 128 gigs, which is no small feat for its small factor, and DDR5 4800 hertz as well. I think the most impressive thing here would be two things, right? Would be the CPU by Intel, which is fairly new and powerful, and second of all, the A5000 graphics card, which it supports, right? So couple these two with 120 gigs of RAM, and you get a very powerful machine, right? Next screen, please. So if you address markets, right, expanding markets, industries where we use this in, right? If you're using if you're in an industry that's into OEM and IoT, right? IoT is a big thing now. Tools are generally very small, but if you need something a bit bigger for more complex data collection or data analysis, you can actually use the P360. All right. Of course, STEM and education. Education is a big thing, right? Instead of using education generally, there's always an element of cost associated with it because of the volume, and it always falls under government budgets, right? So as far as possible, they do have a concern on budget somewhat. So a lot of them still prefer to buy desktops, but they need the performance of a high-end desktop. So this gives you that option, all right, to cover both sides. You can actually cover education, which covers all the students and the apps they use. You can also cover CAD and 3D modeling as well. All right, and a lot of trading floors. Back in the day, there were specific machines designed for trading floors, right? Machines that were meant to fit into a certain space, which could support 4 monitors, because traders just want to trade, and they need to see. The more they see, the more they trade. So this would fulfill that space as well. Small space, supports 8 screens, massive memory capability, which is what they need. So finance is one area as well, which this is going to be we're targeting as well as the medical field. All right. So that's one second field. Third would be for high end imaging rendering in healthcare, for example, right, where you need to leverage both the CPU and the GPU. This would also be very good for those industries as well. So, for example, Philips Healthcare, Viglion, for example, these are some of the folks who use this for their healthcare industries and their healthcare clients.